We're going to open up the floor to a couple of questions, but before, just the main thing, who's having a problem with the knee kind of coming out and the person sort of being able to get onto your back a little bit? Be honest. Yeah, okay, so this is a very, I was just telling one of the gentlemen over here, like, what you do, as he was asking about using your hands, what you do with your hands is going to change, and there's not really going to be a lot of like right and wrong here, other than like if you don't have a good wedge, if you don't have a good pin, if you're not controlling the lever, well, that's wrong. But as long as you're meeting those qualities in some way, it'll just be varying degrees of how effective you're being, and what you do with your arms is going to change. What we would like you to achieve here, especially in the gi because there's so much friction, we'd like you to be able to basically control the leg with your lower half of your body and not have to use your arms as much, if possible. But again, like your level of experience will dictate here. If you need to use your arms a lot today, use your arms a lot, because that's where you're at, and that's like we need to bridge the gap to getting to the point where you don't have to do that. So if we are here, and as we get up, our partner's knee is starting to, like, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Is this a problem that should be occurring at least somewhat, even at like a very high experience level? This happens all the time. And then you're kind of fighting off a back take. And there are two solutions to this. So the first one is just have a better wedge. And so can I get you guys just to crowd in a little bit, as long as you're not like blocking somebody, so like tall people sit down, short people, you know. Okay, there we go. Remembering a wedge is a portable incline plane, like a doorstop, a crowbar. So wedge has two functions. It can create friction at an angle to affix something in place, or it can use, kind of like a spearhead effect to pry something apart. The mechanism we're interested in today is affixing something in place by creating friction at an angle. Does that make sense? Sorry, I'm not a physics teacher. Top thigh, pressure driving down, bottom thigh, pressure driving up. While I'm rotating, if I'm not still meeting that, I don't have a wedge. So if I'm here and I'm just like, yo, let me get on top, well, there's no wedge. And I can compensate for that by controlling his legs. This is what I mean when I say, controlling his leg with my arm, right? Because as long as I keep this up, by which I mean his leg, as long as I keep this up, he shouldn't, like, the angle is such that because the floor is in the way, he won't be able to extract, right? Like if I go like this and he tries to pull his knee out and I just keep pulling his knee up, that's fine. I don't have a great wedge, but I'll get to the position. So because I still have good control of the lever, I'm gonna be okay, but I shouldn't have to have this if I've got a good wedge in my knee. So whether you're having to use the hands or not, I want you to at least try for the next little bit to make this transition where you're applying upward pressure on your partner's knee, trying to control there are two levers, well, there are three levers that we're gonna be working with today, right? The femur, the hip to the knee, then we've got the tibia and fibula, not fibia. I don't know how many people say tibia and fibia, but tibia and fibula, not that you want a medical lesson from me, and then we've just got, the foot as a lever. So right now we're concentrated on this lever, right? The femur from the knee to the hip. If I get too far, I create articulation in his knee. So these are not the droids you're looking for. It's not the lever you're looking for. It's right here. So my knee is coming up. And I'm just using my hands on the mat and trying to sit through to here without losing my partner's knee. So that's kind of the next little bit that we're going to play with, is just be here, don't touch their leg. Try to create a wedge. Yes, sir.
So I noticed something you just did that I wasn't doing. I want to see if that's intentional.
Sure.
Your right butt cheek is getting past his left hip. Is that something that...
Yeah, so in terms of the wedge that I'm then creating, I'll be creating a wedge either down here or I'll be sitting on him. So it's intentional if I want to continue on, like if my goal is to Kneebar him, which is where we're going with this, by the way. My goal is to Kneebar him, and I just stop here. I'm definitely at some point gonna bring my hip or my butt to the other side.
Which is necessary for the control?
It's not necessary. Okay. It's not. Yeah, I was just going like, I was kind of thinking ahead. This is where we're going to be going with this. But like this is fine too, because it's also going to be like potentially, if Ken were to start turning to his right hip, at that point I might be seeking to attack this way. So it's not always going to be possible for me to put my butt beside. Oh, sorry. It's not always going to be productive to try to put my butt beside him at that point. So it's not a necessary thing. It's just contingent on where I'm attacking. That was a very good question. Any other questions? Any other problems that you guys are having that aren't like related to this that I can quickly fix? Okay.
Could you show it one more time, please?
Yeah, of course. So on the outside, I'm just making sure that I drive down. And by the way, I mean down. There's down towards the floor and there's down towards his hip. This is a bit of both. So down towards the floor and down towards his hip to create the freedom of movement. Because if I just go down to the floor ends up blocking me. So I do need a little bit of this sort of thing. And you can see like I'm still trying to drive a wedge now up at his knee, and I'm just focusing on controlling like from the knee to the hip with my thighs and making sure that his knee can't slip through. Any questions? 1, 2.
You don't have to do it. Porter hates the class, so whenever Porter is here, everyone's like,
Oh, dude, I don't do it in my club, so yeah.
you don't have to do it. You don't have to.